Hi, welcome to One Roots, and today this is a special episode with Patrick Martin. Welcome, Patrick.
Thank you for having me.
How are you doing today?
It's good. This
Good?
is an honor.
Yes, rainy day, coffee, good company,
Indeed.
and I
Yes.
hope a great conversation today.
I hope so too.
Yes, so let's start, Patrick, with where we are today, how we met, what are we doing here in
Yeah.
France.
So we're right now in Montpellier Supergro
Uh-huh.
in the Vinifera building. Vinifera being our master's program that we started 2 months ago now.
Yeah, in August.
Yeah. So we've been here for 2 months. We met 2 months ago.
Yes.
You're all right. Everyone's great. I think
Yeah.
we've landed on our feet with our
Big
Our
group,
class, yeah.
international group.
totally. Yeah.
Where are you coming from?
I'm from Ireland.
Ireland?
Originally.
Okay.
But before this, I was in Australia for a while,
Okay.
and before that, other countries as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because I love this type of master because you bring together people from different backgrounds,
Yeah, totally.
and each of them has their own particular history of
Mm.
why they're here today.
Absolutely.
And one of those histories that I was really curious and interested in was yours,
Ooh.
because you start as a like forestry management, no?
Yeah. So my undergrad, my bachelor's was in a Bachelor of Agricultural Science,
Uh-huh.
Forestry Management. Yeah, which I did in University College Dublin, which I started in 2012, graduated in 2016.
Mhm.
And yeah, I decided that out of school, I just wanted something outside, something
Okay.
practical, something that involved nature, and that appealed to me. By the end of it, I didn't necessarily feel the same way.
Uh-huh.
This is often the case for a lot of people, but yeah, that's how I started. That was my first academic experience.
Forestry, and within that, like on your bachelor's degree,
Mm.
you had the opportunity to travel to
I did.
different. It was just the states or more countries.
Just the States, yeah. So I
Uh-huh.
did a semester abroad at Michigan State, which was fantastic. Which, yeah, it was an amazing time.
Uh-huh.
It made it very hard to go back to my home university afterwards because you see how great it can be, and then you're like, oh, okay, back to porridge. But yeah, I was there for 4 months, and then on the visa, when it's a J1, for the amount of time that you studied, you can get that same time again afterwards on what they call academic training.
Yes.
So for that, I went to California. I did an internship with UC Berkeley. Not in Berkeley, it was in their research forests, which are spaced out across
Yes.
California. So that was completely incredible. That was worth doing the degree
Of course.
just for that. You're like working in the giant sequoia park.
Yes.
You're having all these amazing experiences. Very remote, living in a cabin in the woods for 4 months. Bears roaming around and all sorts of stuff.
Have you read the book Walden, Life in the Forest,
No,
by John Trudeau?
no.
It's a really good
Oh,
book.
Trudeau. Oh,
Yeah,
I need to
it's
read
Trudeau,
that. I've
yeah.
heard about it, but I need
Yeah,
to read it.
it's Walden. Yeah, this guy that he says society is going crazy.
Yeah.
I don't want to deal with that.
Yeah.
So he goes to a forest and live as with the bare minimum.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a great experience. I would do it again for sure, and I appreciate it more as I get older as time goes on.
And I think that's part of, for example, of California. I bet that when you get to Berkeley, you were like, wow, this is a huge city, and close to San
Yeah.
Francisco,
Yeah.
a lot of people, a lot of like diversity.
For sure.
But then
Yeah,
an hour away, you have this amazing forest.
exactly. Yeah,
Wow.
we were pretty deep in there. It was 45 minutes drive to get to the nearest town,
Ah,
and that was
okay.
Georgetown, and there was not much there.
So it was up north in the Mendocino area?
It was
or-
El Dorado National Park. Yeah.
Ah, okay, like close to
So-
Fresno.
Yeah. So
Okay.
it was like if you had Sacramento here and Tahoe here, it was like
Uh-huh.
in between.
Oh, that's a nice area.
Yeah, it was really nice. You could get lost pretty easily. It was pretty remote, but yeah, it was amazing. It was about wildfire research was our main thing,
Wi-Fi.
which was really fascinating and kind of scary because you
Yes,
see
there's a lot of problems.
Yeah, a lot of problems.
Wi-Fi.
Even since then, like before I was there, even there's like 100,000 acres burned the year before, and obviously since then, this was back in 2015. I was there.
Okay.
So since then, it's just. Yeah.
Do you have any experience with a fire in California?
We did prescribed fire burning,
Ah,
so
perfect.
we set fires in the forest in a controlled way
Mhm.
for research and as a management technique, which
Mhm.
was eye opening. Like
Yes, exactly.
I did wildland firefighter training and got the certification to be a wildland
Nice.
firefighter. which was again another insight. But being able to use that to do the prescribed burn was cool. But even just doing that in a controlled way was pretty intense. You know, you're laying this fire line, you know, with a drip torch, and you know, I set my foot on fire. That was fun. Just put fuel and fire right across my boot. Like, whoa, that needs to go out. But the intensity of that heat of even a small controlled burn, like you feel your eyebrows starting to go, and you're like, this is when it's in control.
Imagine
when it's like, you know, these colossal trees are just you know, raging infernos. So that was a really great experience. A lot of solitude, which was nice. A great way to spend
time with yourself.
Yeah, totally. You got no Wi-Fi. You got no cell service.
Yeah, you should definitely read Walden.
I think I need.
You're gonna like it.
Yeah. It sounds like.
And that's why I like what you say, that when you see that, like the nature acting, sometimes Mother Nature can be like, hey, okay, you're cool, humans are cool, but don't tell me like.
whenever there's a black bear beside your cabins, and you're like, you try and scare it away, and he's just sort of like, you know, you come and try like whack a stick off something, and you're shouting, and then he just sort of like looks at you, and you're like,
okay,
you know what? I'm gonna go.
You stay there.
You just chill, man. That happened, and that was one of the last few days. So I heard it, but you start to know the noises of a big animal, and you hear like not just like a crack, but like crack and a thud. And then I thought, I need to get a good photo of a black bear while I'm here, because we see them all over the forest, quite a few times, and I got quite into photography while I was there, and I thought I need to get a photo of this. So I ran over to my cabin, stupidly close to the bear, got my camera, took my photos, and that's when I tried to scare him.
And he looked at you?
Oh,
like, eye contact?
Yeah, like right afterwards when I was trying to move him away, he just like looked at me like,
no,
yeah, right.
Go back to your cabin.
Yeah, go back to your cabin, man. Yeah. Who do you think's running the show?
Exactly.
You know? But it's good to have a reminder of who's in control, because, I mean, they're seriously wild animals. And you never know.
I have some experience also when you're in front of the ocean, and you see like the immensity. We're tiny.
Yeah. Or when you're in the ocean and then you see another animal in the ocean with you, and you think you've got it. You know, you're in the waves. You know, you're paddling for a wave, you're surfing or something, and then you see a seal just bob out of the wave and back in again. You're like, I'm really bad in this environment. This guy lives here,
exactly.
And I'm visiting. Like,
totally.
Yeah, God forbid it's a shark. Anyway, that's another story.
No, that's part of your story. And then, when you were in California, you're already curious or knew something about the wine, or zero.
So I was
you grew up
in Sierra Nevada.
Sierra Nevada. Okay.
Yeah, I know it's quite funny actually. There was a quite an ironic moment where we were doing a road trip through California into Oregon, and I took a video on my camera. We were stuck behind this big machine, and it was going really slowly, and I videoed it, and I was like, "What even is this thing?" It was a harvester. You know, I didn't know. I had no clue what that was at the time.
It's weird. It's weird looking.
Yeah, it's weird looking, but you know, now looking back, I'm like, what an idiot. You know. But I had no interest in wine at that time. Didn't drink wine. Didn't care for it at all. Didn't know a thing about the industry. It was just all about the trees back then, which was nice. But you know, things change over time.
Because you went to California and then you went back to finish your bachelor.
Exactly. Yeah. So 1 more year left.
Okay.
So I came back. Was thoroughly disenchanted with my department, my degree, my university, the whole program. It all kind of, any belief I had in it sort of fell down around my ears. And for a lot of the class as well, I mean, we were only 7 or 8 in the class. I think to this day, only 2 of the people that graduated work in forestry. You know, so I think that says a lot about the program. I hope it's changed today, but the tuition to me was just not that great. The organization of the program wasn't great. Even, you know, like we had to do a forest management plan, we had to do a thesis or a research project. My research project I used the collective data from California where I was working,
Okay.
because they had decades of data of wildfire risk research. And I went to one of my lecturers after I got back and said, I'd like to do my thesis on this, but it's not about Irish forestry. She said, it doesn't have to be.
Okay.
Great.
Yes, exactly.
So I got launched into it. And towards the end of the year, we have to do this presentation and to the whole department do it. And I think it was one of the research fellows that was there said, excuse me, this isn't relevant to Irish forestry. And then I said, well, good thing it doesn't have to be.
Yeah.
And then the head of department said, no, it does. This is like a few weeks before.
Before
this thing was
graduation,
due.
the thesis and all your work. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm scrambling, trying to like go out to random forests in Ireland and do like wildfire research and these sorts of things and try to pile it together. Submit it, I'm like, whatever, just get rid of it. And then we had an external examiner come in to assess it, and I remember we're sitting there and he has my thesis in front of him, and he looks at me and says, to be honest, this to me just looks unfinished. And I looked and I thought, that doesn't
Pretty finished.
Yeah, and I said, how many pages are there? And he looked at me and went like, 46. I said, yeah, there's supposed to be like 76. I said, where's the rest of the thesis? I looked at my head of department who was there and said, where's the rest of it for this guy? I said, do you have a hard copy? I submitted a hard copy. Oh, and he gets it, hands it. I said, yeah, this is my thesis, not that.
Exactly.
Oh, okay. Oh, so there is a conclusion and a result. So I was like, yeah.
Of course, I did it. Yeah.
So, what confidence do you have in the people that are supposed to be awarding you a degree at this point,
But then, if you wouldn't have that experience, maybe you wouldn't be into it.
Yeah, maybe. Well, I was pretty over it at that point anyway. Yeah, because I came out of it, and very few of us out of the degree actually went into forestry, even to this day, but also it's not like we all went out and tried it and decided it wasn't for us. We were like, no.
But also, at that time, your plan was to maybe make a career in Ireland?
I wasn't sure. I really wasn't sure. After that, I went into tree surgery, so like arboriculture.
Nice.
Yeah, so I was over. I had a bunch of friends that I met in America that did in Michigan that did tree work like that. So they kind of inspired me, and I thought, oh, this seems cool. A bit of risk,
Yes.
a bit of spiciness to the job. So I got into it and did that for a while, and worked for some not great employers. Wasn't really what I lived up to be. Picked up some not major injuries, but little injuries, and was like, saw some things, like people that are 35 and their bodies are just completely worn out.
Yeah.
And I thought, I'd rather keep my health. At that time, because the work could be in certain seasons, it would slow down. I was getting interested in coffee at that time.
Okay.
And I got a job as a barista because I was like, you know what, this stuff really interests me. I'm just gonna if I have to have another job, which is like weird hours and that. I'll just do coffee because it seems cool. And hospitality, I never worked in hospitality before, but it appealed to me, and I thought I wouldn't say shy at the time, but I was quite sort of closed off. I thought, well, maybe this will socially bring me out of my shell a bit, make me a bit more approachable as a person. So I thought, I'll give it a go.
That's a great way. Hospitality opens your mind to, because you're treating with people from different identities, and you need to maybe understand or adapt to each person.
Totally. For like 8 or 10 hours a day, you're
all the time. That's your job.
Trying to make these people's day all the time. Which, you get that wears you out eventually for sure. You're at the end of hospitality. You're like, I hate everyone all the time. No, not really.
No, it happens. Honestly.
No, you do.
It gets overwhelming.
Yeah, and you have a few experiences, and you're like, it's just not.
But that's the point that I like to see in this way, that you're either there to please or you're either there to be you, and if they don't like it, the ones that having a problem is them.
Exactly.
Because you're doing your job. You don't have to be like, I'm gonna adapt for you. I'm gonna be this because you're paying, you're the client. Well, you're the client, but this is how I do my job. You're here because you want something.
If you adapt everything, then you're McDonald's. So.
Exactly. Exactly.
It's interesting you said. It's a strong. That's an important point within the hospitality and coffee industry is identity and accessibility.
Okay.
So if you have only identity, this is how we do things. If you don't like it, get out. Right.
Yeah.
That's not very nice. You want to still bring people in and introduce them to the concept that you're doing, and sell it to them really, but also make them feel included in what's happening.
Uh-huh.
Then there's accessibility. Accessibility is you want 5 different sizes, you want all the syrups, you want sugars, you want this coffee, that coffee, everything, cream, sugar, all of it. You're anything.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what you are because you have no identity anymore. You're just constant adaptation, which is like Starbucks and that sort of thing. Not bashing Starbucks. Starbucks is like a foundation of the coffee industry, but you have to balance those things.
Yes.
And that's a really interesting point. And you could say that about the wine industry to an extent as well in terms of products, but we'll talk about that at some other point. Yeah.
One time I read, I don't know where, I think it was like in a magazine of wine, and it was like when you have a lot of options, that leads to indecision.
Yes, quite right. Yeah.
Because people are like, oh, this label and this and this and this, and you have 5 labels. People are okay. Only 5 labels. I need 5 options. This one. If you have 20 labels, oh, but this region. Oh, but this label is cool.
Yeah.
And that leads to indecision. And you
Totally.
need people to buy. You need people to.
And your brand becomes indistinct as well.
Mhm.
You know, what are you known for?
Uh-huh.
A million different things. I can't remember all of them, you know. Saw that at a winery I worked at. They would have had over 100 different labels. And they're not in a great place.
No. Right now with the market, I think the wineries that are gonna keep growing are the wineries that are loyal to their identity.
Totally,
Yeah.
yeah. They've got it, as a key point in mind, yeah.
And then Patrick, just to jump from that experience on your bachelor to the moment when you start or discover the wine industry.
Ooh, yes. So I stopped the tree work altogether. I liked my limbs attached to my body, way more preferable. Tendonitis is enough. But I was working in this coffee place, really high end coffee, where you're talking about varietal differences, processing methods, fermentations. Not necessarily the agriculture behind the coffee, but it's important, but really getting into it. And then you're also, beyond that, then you're talking about the brewing and writing tasting notes, extractions,
Wow.
total dissolved solids contents in the coffee that you're making, like every day.
Wow.
You know,
Okay.
your palate has to be absolutely insane, and that's one thing that that baristas end up being really good at, especially the coffee industry. There's a good example of that, which I'll tell you in a minute. But I was doing all this. There was this really great chef who was like top end, really great guy.
All that in Ireland, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
And he said, "You should really look into wine." You know, I was like, "Yeah, I've been wondering about it." You know, and then he said, "Yeah, no, really, you should, because the way you're doing this is like, it sounds a lot like wine." I said, okay, so I went to like a local bottle shop back home, like basic. Bought a bottle of Stellenbosch Shiraz and an Oyster Bay Pinot Noir, and like we do with coffee, you do a thing called cupping, where you very much brew the coffee in a very simple way in a cup, and then you have a spoon, and then you like sip it.
Wow.
That's what cupping is, and you do side by side so that you can appreciate the differences, because they can be very, very subtle. So I sort of thought, I'll do a cupping kind of thing. So I poured a glass of Shiraz, poured a glass of Pinot Noir, and thought, these must be different. I know zero about wine at this point. Must be different. So look at that one. Oh yeah, that one's darker than that one. That one smells like peppery black fruit. That one smells like cranberries and strawberries. Ah, okay. And then I distinctly remember at that moment at my kitchen table, like getting my laptop out and being like, wine courses Belfast. Enter. And the first thing that came up was WSET 1.
Yeah.
Which was like 2 weeks later.
You signed in.
Booked
That
it.
night?
Yeah.
Wow.
Booked it, did it, had this amazing wine tutor called Peter Morris Wilson, who I don't think he tutors anymore, unfortunately, but he was there and he did the level 1.
And it was online or face to face?
It was face to face.
Ah,
Yeah.
great.
I was so lucky. This was all in Belfast in a wine merchant. I did level 1. About a month later, there was level 2.
Mm-hmm.
I did level 2, loved it, and then right after level 2 finished, I booked in to do level 3, which was about 6 months later.
Okay.
At that point, I was kind of over the coffee industry, because I got to the point where I thought, I need to open my own place, or I need to do something different.
Yeah.
This is the time when I need to decide. I worked in enough places that I saw where things went wrong, where things went right, and I thought
Yeah.
I could do this.
Already
For
have
sure.
the know-how.
For
so-
sure.
Mhm.
Wouldn't be easy, but I could figure it out. And then I just saw the stress and how having a business like that, you're always anchored to it. You know,
Mhm,
you
yeah.
never
Yeah.
you never get away from it. Such a difficult thing. So I thought, no, I'm gonna branch out and do something different. I need an excuse to travel again and see more things. To sort of getting those itchy feet
Yeah.
to move. And at that point, that was in January. I want to say that I did that tasting and decided that wine's interesting, and I wanted to go to New Zealand. So I thought 1 year from now I'm going to go to New Zealand
Mhm.
and I'm going to work in the wine industry. I'm going to do a vintage.
Uh-huh.
That was in 2019. And yeah, so I did level 1, did level 2, and then I started level 3 with that same wine shooter and a couple of others. And at that point, I was talking to all my coffee friends about like, oh, I'm doing this wine course, and some of my coffee friends were into wine existingly, worked in wine shops, and some of them knew nothing.
Yeah. Okay.
So I set up one day. I was like, well, let's meet in like this guy's cafe after it closes.
Uh-huh.
I'll get like 6 wines. I'll go to IKEA and get some glasses, and we'll just taste them.
Okay.
And we did that, and I inadvertently ended up sort of doing tutoring the tasting for everyone, being like, okay, so this is a Riesling, blah blah blah, and this is why it tastes like this, and then there's only 6 of us there, but the coffee people, like, you give them a Riesling and say nothing, right? And they go, a lot of acid in this, and you're like,
how? Yeah, because they're already educated for the coffee.
yeah, because all day with espresso you're assessing, acidity is at one end, which is under extraction, bitterness is at the other end, which is over extraction. In the middle you have sweetness, and that's what you're aiming for. And that's what you're constantly changing: grind size, dose size, all of these.
So you're always aiming for sweetness in coffee?
Well, that's a simplistic way to put it, but in terms of espresso,
okay,
yeah,
for
when you're dialing an espresso, that's how you. What you
I like
sort
my
of
espresso bitter.
bitter, yeah,
Strong.
over extracted,
Yeah.
dark as anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
a punch.
In conventional coffee, that's generally what people go for.
Okay.
In the specialty terms, whenever you get too far into bitterness, you lose a lot of the aromatics, which is what gives it the varietal difference.
I never thought about giving that approach. I know the approach for wine, but for
Yeah.
coffee, for me, that's new. I
Yeah.
think now I'm gonna start.
Oh yeah, it's got to be the right coffee though. That's the thing. It's got to be the right place, the right coffee that can offer that experience.
Okay.
Often it's just not offered. But I was very lucky to work in a city in Belfast where, proportional to the population, the coffee quality is a number of really good coffees. It's just like it's through the roof. It's ridiculous. It's so disproportionate to the cultural level that the rest of the country and the city's at, which is not great. No, it's fine. But the coffee scene is just ridiculous. Yeah, we're very lucky. But yeah, I got my friends into it with that, and they really enjoyed it. And then this wine tasting thing that we did, me and a few friends, we created a Instagram page for it. Account. It was called After Hours Wine Club.
I heard about that club.
Yeah,
pretty popular.
It started with 6 of us, and then it was 10, and then we opened it up on Instagram, and it was this little cafe at like 7 p.m. on a Tuesday would just be packed with people.
I heard about the secret, not secret location.
Yeah. It was kind of clandestine. It was kind of illegal too. I didn't have a license, but it was a private party.
It's an amazing idea.
Yeah, it was, dude. It was just like, it's amazing how much it took off, and it so could have been a business. This was like within about 3 months before I left for New Zealand.
So you already have everything ready.
I kind of knew like I'm not going to be able to do this for very long, so try and make the most of it. So we did a few sessions, nothing crazy, but each time it was just packed and packed and packed, and I would do the same thing. I would introduce each wine, and it wasn't so much about getting things right or wrong. It was just opening up the dialogue for people that didn't know that much, and you have to like drag it out of people, especially on the first wine of the night, because everyone's like stone cold sober, and you have to like pick someone out and say, what do you taste? Tell me right now, what have you got? And they're like, Blackfruits. You're like, yeah. Easy.
Yes,
and then everyone's like, oh, okay. And then at the end, say, do we like it? And some people yes, some people no.
Yeah.
And if it's a no, then that's good consumer advice. You know you don't like Riesling. You know that you do like Chardonnay. So when you're standing there in the supermarket or the wine shop, I know this one. I know I like that. So it's just giving people a little bit of direction, just to steer them towards the right.
Yeah. For me, it's like when you learn a new language. When I was little, I liked to go to the stores with my dad.
Yeah.
And when doing like groceries, I don't know why, but I like to go into the wine bar area and just see all the flags of the different countries that do wine. And I was like, oh, I want to travel that country. I want this country is Italy, and this country is and this country has like the Great Britain flag. It's Australia. And that one is New Zealand. That's South Africa. So for me, it was like a geography class, the wine bar, and you see the different varieties. And I was like, what that's about? And you read, and they talk about the terroir, and they talk about the soil, and I was like, it's only a bottle of wine, and there's so much into it.
How can this all be in there? Yeah.
And then for me, it was also like, when you go to a store with records and you see the covers of the records, every label was telling you a story.
Yeah.
So for me, it was like all that for wine. Yeah. So for me, I want to learn more and more. Yeah. And then when I grew up, I found the industry, and this is it. This is it. This is it. Hi, beautiful people that are watching and enjoying this podcast. In order to bring more content like this, I will ask you for 3 favors. The first one is to like the videos. Second one is to follow and subscribe the channel. And the third one is to share and talk to your friends about this amazing content you're following. So I love you so much, and keep enjoying the podcast. Cheers.
It gives you everything you want.
So after hours,
yes, yeah.
You get with your friends? It was friends?
It was friends, and then it opened up to like just people.
Wow.
Yeah. Okay. That was when it got a little bit scary and a bit unhinged, because it was like, if people want to come in and just get wasted, like that can get a little. And some people were a little bit disagreeable about the wine. You pour a really nice Beaujolais. What do we taste? Paint stripper. All right. Well.
Get out.
Yeah. Great. Okay. Fine. You can't say. See ya. You have to navigate around that and say, okay, I see what you're saying, but maybe think Redfords. Try to like steer them around to something else. Because tasting is subjective, and it's also not. Yes. It's subjective to a point. If someone tastes a wine and they say, and it's a Chardonnay, and they say they taste something weird. Sausages, steak. You're like, no. But how it's a difficult thing to sort of bring people around to sometimes. But for the most part, everyone loved it. Everyone was really into it, and every time I'm back home, people are like, when are we gonna do that again? I'm like, give me a cafe. Give me a cafe after hours.
I mean, you already put like this. You planned the seed already. In that city with your friends. Yeah. You went to New Zealand.
Yes, that's right.
You did your first harvest.
That's right. Yeah.
And
2020.
I heard you have this record that you are the Irish with 4 years and 7 vintage.
Yeah.
How is that possible?
How is it possible?
How did you
do 7 vintages in 4 years?
Well,
2020 I worked in New Zealand, and the whole country shut down. 3 months after I got there, or the whole world shut down with COVID. So I was incredibly lucky. So I got there in January. By mid-March, it was like, no one can leave. I was like, cool. Worked the vintage, sort of stayed in the region, did a little bit of contract pruning, which was terrible, and then got taken back on by the winery doing vineyard work. So that saw me through to the next vintage, 2021. So worked there that year. St. Clair Family Estate, fantastic winery, amazing people, really looked after us in spite of the hard times. 2021 I worked New Zealand, Marlborough, and then I worked Nye Timber in the south of England doing sparkling wine production.
So you went.
Yeah, and then 2022 I didn't do a southern hemisphere vintage, but I doubled up on the northern. So I worked Austria and Burgenland in a little small family, like 5th generation family estate, which is an amazing experience. Xenial Winery, Andreas is doing fantastic stuff there. sort of bit of natural wine style, but also conventional, and
In Austria.
yeah,
Wow.
and the fruit quality was like just textbook. This fruit comes into the winery, and you're like looking at the bunches. You're like, this is literally perfect, and some of the best wines I've ever tasted for sure.
And then you started there and then went back.
And then went back to Nijmegen. So it was literally back to back. It was like 4 or 5 weeks in Austria.
It was super fast.
Yeah, it was pretty quick vintage, but it was sort of pretty intense. And then so we finished in Austria on a Saturday, and then we started at Nijmegen on a Monday. So it was me and my friend Lawrence, the guy, a wonderful Bavarian fellow who I met the previous year at Nijmegen, my first year there, who came through Vinifera and recommended this program to me.
Nice.
So we, the next year we said, let's do some vintages together. So yeah, we went Austria, finished Austria, immediately to Nijmegen. Seven or 8 weeks at Nijmegen. So that was doubling up in the Northern Hemisphere. That was 2022. Then 2023, I did in South Australia, Darrenburg and Claren Vale. That was great. And then this year, 2024, I did in Western Australia, in Margaret River, at a winery called Deep Woods Estate, which was also fantastic. So I think that's.
And then you went to
3, 4,
to England, no?
6, 7.
You went
No.
No? Okay.
Yeah, that's 7, right?
1,
1, 2,
3, 4,
3, 4, 5,
6, no?
6, 7.
Ah, no, 7 with Australia, no? Because you did 2 last in Australia. Yeah.
Australia.
Okay.
Nice.
7 vintage.
Yeah.
And so after, my question is, you went to New Zealand, find out the vineyard work.
Yes.
That is, when you choose forestry, was I want something outside.
Yeah.
Something that I can be in the nature, and you find that in the vineyard.
Yeah.
And then you already, after that, you work on the cellar, so you see all what happens, you get the flavors and everything in the wine.
Yeah.
So your decision was just to chase harvest to learn more?
Yeah, it's sort of, I guess it's, the wine industry is interesting. I find that I don't necessarily fall in and out of love with it, but during vintage time, it's like the best. And then outside of vintage time, sometimes when you're doing the vineyard work, it can be tough to really maintain your fire for it, depending on who you're working with. If you're just, if during vintage you're with other people that are in this exact same mindset, I want to travel, I want to make the wine, I want to learn. And then in the downtime, you kind of, if you're not surrounded by that fire, it can sort of dip a little bit. And that's when you can get some other ideas like, oh, maybe I'll stay here for a while, or maybe I'll just do the one vintage this year, that sort of thing. So it ebbed and flowed in terms of my interest in what area of the industry. So it's kind of hard to put your finger on, but I really, working in the vineyards made me appreciate the winery more. Working in the winery then after that made me appreciate the vineyards more. Because it's such they're hand in hand, they're essential to each other. And especially when you do your first vintage and the grapes are just appearing, right? You don't really
see where they come from.
You don't see the incredibly hard work that's been going on all year, to get this stuff to work, to actually have fruit on the vine. And then after that, the fruit on the vine coming off and the operations to get that to the cellar. You don't really appreciate that until you see it, it's 2 worlds exactly. And then it's just stuff coming in a truck. You're like, oh yeah, this is from this block, this vineyard, whatever. And then when you go and work in the vineyard and you go to that block and and you see all these various places and terroirs, so to speak, where it's coming from, you have a whole different level of understanding.
Now that you say that, I'm smelling so big, but my favorite job that I did in my life, it's grower relations.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
That grower relations, I was working for this huge company in California, and they have many programs, right? And they have their vineyards, but also they buy from outside vineyards. And they have standards, and they have quality and farming techniques for the vineyards that they buy, because they have contracts with the growers.
Yeah, of course.
So my job as an intern was to go and check the vineyards, the sugar levels, the farming system, take a measure of the bricks, see and soil, salt tried, also take pictures and have like a record of the farming of each vineyard, and also to measure if they're taking care of the standard that the company wants. So for me, it was amazing just to get into Napa and work in 7 different counties
Yeah.
with different growers,
Yeah.
with different philosophies. Like you
Yeah,
see each
yeah.
grower's proud of their vineyard
Yeah.
and tell me like, hey, how is this year looking? Like
Yeah.
really curious about
Yeah,
what we
yeah.
think as the company for the vineyard
Yeah.
and the program of each grape's gonna go.
Yeah.
So
And they're all doing their own things as well.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, and it's different from the growers in Mendocino and from the growers in South Napa because the weather, the condition is so different. And for me, the when I was like, wow, this is so great, like the click. It was one time we had like a tasting with one of high-end brands of my company, and we're having the wine, and the guy from the tasting room was explaining, yeah, you can see the minerality, the black fruit is because it's high elevation, so it's over the fog line, blah blah. And I was knowing that, and then I went to sample that vineyard the following week. I grabbed a bunch of Syrah, and I buy like, and he's like, shit, like it's so ripe. It's completely different than the valley floor because of the elevation of the soil. And when I get that bottle, my mind literally translated me, to that moment when I was buying the cluster of Syrah. Yeah, because it's you see where it comes from.
Yeah. You gotta put it in context.
No, you gotta live it.
Yeah.
It's something that
Yeah, and especially from a grower perspective, where it's all these different people's stories. It's not just the estate stuff where that sound makes it sound bad. It's not the estate vineyards where it's one viticulturalist pinging around all these places trying to make sure everything's okay. It's like this is like their baby.
Yes. Yes.
That's so cool.
It's amazing, yeah. And I love that you say that you see the vineyard and also it's give you time to think.
Yeah.
Because the cycle of the vine is perfect.
Yeah.
For me, Christmas is time to chill, go to your family.
Yeah.
In spring, you're waking up.
Yeah.
In summer, you're getting mature. And when it's autumn, you harvest, work, so you can chill again.
Totally. And it's cool often when you do vineyard work, well, if you're traveling around a lot, you'll do one sort of season of it and you don't go back there. In Australia, I did some vineyard work for my second year of my visa for the winery I was working at, and I did a few months, and then the next year after the next harvest, I came back there just to do a little bit more. And it's cool whenever you've like planted vines or something to be coming back to do like the two budding or working on the same thing you worked on the last year. You can actually see some progress. Finally, you actually get to see that. Usually you don't, and that's fills in the story a bit more.
Yeah, and you're part of that wine, of that story. Yeah,
really, you see your efforts.
Yeah, and then you try taste it. Oh my god.
Yeah. Fiona was good that year just because of me.
Yeah. Yes, and then Patrick, just to get into the moment that we are right now in France, doing a master in enology and viticulture. So I think that wish or that curiosity that started having the Syrah and the Petit, it was a Pinot Noir and the Syrah.
Yeah.
It's now pretty serious now.
Yeah, here we are. Yeah, it was a big decision to come here. I'm sure it is for everyone. It's a big investment of a lot of things. My friend Lawrence back in 2021, he was like, you should do this. You should go and you should do the fair. If this is something you're serious about, you should do that. And at the time, I thought, I don't have enough experience for that. I've done this is like my third vintage. I felt like I'd done WSET 3, but I felt like I knew nothing. I thought there's no way I'd be ready for that. And he said, for sure you'll get it in. And I was like, how do you know? Not that I didn't take it seriously. And this guy, he's someone to listen to for sure. But I sort of put it off in my mind. I thought before I do anything sort of too serious career-wise, I'd rather still have this freedom to travel and to do different things. In hindsight, even if I'd done this, it doesn't take away that freedom.
No,
but
exactly.
anyway, hindsight. But yeah, I did more vintages after that. I traveled more, and I'm really glad I did and met people that I met. But then it was January of this year, whenever I finally put my application in for here, and I thought, probably not even gonna get in, but I'll
Let's try it.
throw my hat in the ring and
Yeah.
see what happens. And I got the interview. This is all in the middle of harvest in Western Australia, and we were in full flow at that point. I remember I had the interview and I had to rearrange the timing and stuff. And this is what's quite embarrassing, is that I rearranged the timing and like Perth time compared to like French time. And I completely missed the interview slot over Zoom. I was like I got home from the winery and like been there for like 13 hours or whatever, and then like in my work pants covered in various grape juice residues.
Yeah.
Put a shirt on, and set up the laptop, and I'm sitting there like ready to go, like trying the Zoom link, and it's not working. And emailing them, and I'm like, hi, like I'm ready. And they're like, it was an hour ago. You've missed it. Such an idiot. And then they emailed me back like 20 minutes later, like, we can do it right now.
Nice.
Like, I think I
Put the shirt
my
back
shirt
again.
back on. Literally, still filthy. And my hands are like black with tannins.
You were up in a beer or
Yeah,
something.
yeah. Like little cookies.
Oh shit.
Yeah. Not beer. And then I did the interview with. Now I know Professor Terry Grossa, Professor good old Luigi,
Nice.
Professor Galetto, yeah. And I thought it went terribly. I was like, first of all, I'm coming into this like late as I like not even late, missed it. So coming in like asking for a second chance, effectively. And then I did the interview. They asked me a bunch of questions. At the end, I got a little laugh out of them whenever they said, "So, are you going to be making wine in Ireland, or like, can you make wine in Ireland?" I was like, if they can do it in England, then the Irish can definitely do it better, And they thought that was hilarious.
Nice.
Great.
Nice.
But yeah, at the end of it, they were like, "Good luck with your vintage, and good luck with the rest of your life." And I was like,
what does that even mean?
"Thank you." But for me, that was like, "See ya,"
Okay.
that was in my mind. I was like, that means that I'm never going to see these people ever again. So I was like, okay, I guess I didn't get it. So I closed the laptop. I was like, well, at least I tried.
Take off your shirt.
Yeah, take the shirt off, finish the beer, go have a shower, like finally chill. And then a few weeks later, I got the offer.
Nice.
And I just remember standing there, like in the winery, like refreshing my email, and being like, "Oh,
we're going to
well,
France."
this is the thing." I was like, maybe I'll defer this a year. Maybe I'll put it off a year.
You were thinking.
Yeah, because I thought, I have to start in August. I have to get home like July, August. My visa in Australia was through till the next January. So I'm giving up visa time, and I don't know. Maybe I should give it more time. And I asked a few people, and asked some family and my brother. And my brother's an academic, so he understands these things. He said, think about it. Like, do take your time, but don't make these people wait. I said, okay, fair enough. And then I asked my friend Lawrence, the German fellow who recommended the course to me. He said, Don't worry about your visa. You just go. You do the masters. You get the masters. You'll be fine. Fuck Australia. You don't need it anymore. And then I went and I was like, you know what, Lawrence, you're right. And so I accepted it. And then I guess now we're here. I still got one more year of my Australian visa anyway.
You can use it like in the future.
I've got a third year, and you just sort of do the application, pay it, and then and then you got it. So it'll always be there, and these things are more time sensitive anyway.
Yeah, and then Australia is not gonna go anywhere.
Yeah. It'll still be there. They'll still be making wine.
Yeah.
I reckon. But yeah, that was the story of Benafira for me, and then now we're here. And before you know it, one second you're accepting and saying, "Thank you very much for the offer. I gladly accept," and then it feels like a day later you're sitting in that room on day one. Everyone's there, and you're like,
"Wow, it's happening."
I guess it's real. Everyone's traveled here from all over the world, and that's a crazy experience.
When I accepted, I was like, "Oh shit, I'm going to go to Europe."
Yeah. Because you were in California at the time.
Yeah,
right.
I was in California.
That's awesome. Yeah.
But yeah, it's a big decision. But also, what I like, you say when you're in Harvest, that you're working with these people that are in the same mindset as you, with the energy.
Totally.
And being here in the master is like gives me like a little peace, or like certainty that there's people that are preparing themselves to be in the industry, and they really care to learn and to do something about their careers in the industry.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think that's important because we've seen that things are changing.
Yeah.
There's new things coming up
Yeah.
that if you don't adapt,
Yeah.
what's the future
Yeah, yeah.
for the wine industry?
And I think also, I'm interested to get your perspective on this. The wine industry is something which has always had to adapt, right? You look at phylloxera, you look at overproduction, even just in Europe alone. These are like colossal, huge challenges that people have had to deal with over time. And yet there seems to be, maybe more so in France, but I don't want to say too much, like kind of resistance to change. This is our appellation. This is what we grow. Not keep your drought resistant varieties. I don't care. You know, I'll keep my Syrah. Thank you very much. But you know, the generations that had to deal with these huge challenges and adaptations were, you know, quite some time ago, decades ago. Do you think because there hasn't been any major challenges since then that people are more resistant to change?
I
They
think
keep their traditions way too strongly sometimes.
I think there has to be a trigger for people that are really protect for their tradition.
Yeah.
There has to be something. But there's other perspective, like for example in Texas, it's an open field to do whatever. You can do any plant you want. You can go and you can sell if the market buy it and it's profitable. You can do whatever you want.
Yeah, yeah.
There's also like in Chile, there's areas that they're not protected by the DO like here in Europe. There's many countries, many regions that is open land for opportunity. You can do what you want. But also I really like how Europeans are proud of what they're doing. But also there's having been like a real trigger. And you see with phylloxera, like also Europeans are like, oh, we have these, we are gonna keep doing the same. And then there's people that started doing like the crafting the vines and all that. And they did it kind of late. They did it kind of late, and that was like the trigger, like, oh shit, we need to change right now to keep this alive. Yeah.
Because it was staring them in the face at that point. It's like, if you don't do this right now, your vines are going to be dead by next year, right? The thing is with climate change is that it's not like if you don't adapt to this other variety now or change your viticulture, you know, it's not that your vines are going to be dead next year. It's you're going to have a progressive loss of quality over time, and your vines are ultimately going to struggle and die. You know, but because it's not like in their face saying this is happening right now, you don't do anything about it. It's over immediately. It's like, oh, but tradition. You know, tradition. It's extremely important. It's the wine industry. It's related to prestige and tradition in almost all areas, but there's got to be a point where we start to become more open to fundamentally changing a lot of these things.
But I think that's coming with this new generation. I was talking with the viticulture technician of the wines that we tried, the Ren RV.
Oh, regenerative wines?
Regenerative wines. Antoine, remember?
Chateau... Oh, Domaine des Fages.
Domaine des Fages. Lafarge.
Domaine Lafarge.
Domaine Lafarge.
That doesn't look good.
Domaine Lafarge.
Of course, Domaine Lafarge.
He has these ideas of using like hybrids, resistance, and in the blocks and everything. And he was like, I have these ideas, I'm proposing to the winemaker, to the owner, but also takes time. Because it's not like, oh, I have this idea, let's implement it. You see the results in 10 years. It's not like intense. So I noticed perspective of big companies that is this type of like the agriculture is extreme to abstract to get all what you can as fast as you can, but the lifespan of your vineyard is gonna decrease. So in California you have companies that they plant a vineyard and their goal is to make as much profit with the vineyard in 30 years.
Production.
But it's 30 years and you have to invest again to do it again. But it's just money right now, fast. and we're losing, and now there's people that are protecting their old vines because it's part of the tradition, and you get more like maybe it's not big production, but you get more value because it's something that is decreasing.
Yeah.
So I think it's depending personally what you want to do,
For sure.
and there's market for everything. So
Yeah.
choose what you want.
Yeah.
And if you want to be the change, if you want to get your money, there's
Yeah.
companies or places that you can make your money back.
Exactly. It's all that perspective, though, isn't it? You know, if you're big on production and you just want a high turnover, yeah, you're going to be doing things completely differently. But what's the cost? You know.
That's the cost, exactly. And so there's going. When the trigger happens,
Yeah.
you will see who is in the right path. You will see who did the right thing.
Yeah.
Because there's gonna be a trigger.
Mm-hmm.
We can't deny it's not happening.
Yeah.
We're already seeing more varieties that are allowed to grow in Chopin.
Yeah.
We're
Yeah.
Bordeaux. Yeah.
Torrigo
Bordeaux.
Nacional,
Yeah,
like
sorry,
Portuguese
Bordeaux.
variety as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it's
Yeah.
just. But this is the thing. Like you look at places like Bordeaux, steeped in tradition.
Mhm.
Tradition is its
Yes.
selling point, right?
Mhm.
Because Bordeaux is Bordeaux.
Mhm.
To the extent things like wineries know that composite corks like DMs
Yes.
are more consistent for aging, right? But the customer demands that it's 100% cork.
Yes.
Way more chance of faults, way more chance of inconsistent aging, but that's what the customer wants.
Yes.
How do you tell a customer you got Portuguese variety in your Bordeaux? You know, whenever they want something which is all about that prestige.
Yes,
You
but
know,
it's a
it's-
Portuguese variety growing Bordeaux.
Yeah.
For me, the vines, what they do, this is my perspective.
Yeah, yeah.
Vines is like a mirror
Yeah.
of the area that they're growing.
For sure.
Takes
Yeah,
all
yeah.
what into
Yeah.
and express it in their own way.
Yeah.
So if you put a Portuguese variety in Bordeaux, it's going to express Bordeaux.
Yeah.
Maybe in the way of the variety.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
the vinification, it's in the terroir of Bordeaux. You can cheat
Yeah.
that.
yeah.
So if, let's say, we have the same clone, everything,
Yes.
and you go and plant it in Ireland, and I go and plant it in my hometown in Molina.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say the conditions are great, and it grows, and it's amazing. Even though your conditions are good for that variety, and my conditions are good for the same variety, it's gonna be completely different.
Of course, yeah. It's the purists. It's those people that scare
You
me.
can lie. You can
Yeah,
lie
yeah.
to the vine.
Yeah.
For me, it's like the most loyal to the expression of the grapevine.
Yeah.
It's for me, it's like the top.
Yeah.
Because when you have an apple, you can be like, oh, this apple is from Kazakhstan, and this apple is from Chile because I tried. No,
Yeah.
but with wine you can do that.
Yeah.
So you can cheat it.
Hope there's no Apple experts out there.
No, I hope that if there's any Apple experts,
Yeah,
please. Pardon.
They've already switched off after that. Yeah. These guys are yeah. No, but it's just interesting that they are challenging those long held rules and laws. You know what you can and can't grow in certain places. We'll see what the consumers in the market feel about that over time, obviously. But yeah, it's interesting seeing it in that perspective here, and then compared to South Australia, for example, like Clarenvale, it's historically like Shiraz Grenache country for reds and Cabernet, a variety of things, but Clarenvale mostly Shiraz Grenache and Chardonnay is white, that kind of thing, but it's Sauvignon Blanc. And then now, increasingly Sicilian Brilliant varieties, which deal way better with the heat and maintain their acid. And Fiano, which is like people don't really know a lot about Fiano.
Australia?
Yeah. Okay. It's again a southern Italian variety, but it does very well with maintaining its acid through high heat. And Fiano now is getting hugely popular in that particular area. You find it in supermarkets, it's winning awards. Winery I worked at, they're just grafting heaps of stuff to Fiano because they're doing very well from it. So, but you can do that there, you know. It's no harm to the appellation because they don't really they have a growing region, don't have an appellation with rules. A winery can come out and say, yeah, we're doing Fiano now. Here, try this in the tasting. Oh yeah, I like that. And then before you know it, all the wineries and all their cellar doors are, here's our 2023 Fiano, and it won this award and that award, and it's just accepted. You know,
Yes.
the consumer just
Fast,
accepts
yeah,
these things.
yeah.
Oh yeah, okay, cool. You know, it's not really an issue. And Nero Davila, easy peasy. Aglianico, all of these
Right.
things. You know, they just come along, and there's that adaptation is so much easier to switch to.
Yeah.
You know.
But then also in 100 years, it's gonna be for sure a mutation of Anciano.
Yeah.
And there's gonna be, when you try an Anciano from South Africa, from Australia,
Mm.
you're gonna be, oh, this is because of that. I think like you can see only the story from the future to the past. So be like, oh, now I understand this Anciano is like this because of this part of Australia. And if you have an Anciano from South Italy, you don't gonna look for the same characteristic of the one in Australia, right?
Yeah.
So it's Italian variety. It's like, for example, I love like when we're seeing clones and varieties. It's like, what if Patrick Martin was born in London?
Ooh.
But same family,
Yeah.
but born in London. You would be complete, like your way of thinking,
Oh,
everything
yeah.
will be completely different.
Yeah.
But it's Patrick Martin. Same DNA, everything. But it's growing up there.
Or in Mexico.
Or in Mexico.
Yeah.
Patricio Martinez. Exactly.
With some tequila, anything's possible. Yeah. Yeah. No, totally. But it's, I guess that's what wine is, though. It's appreciating those differences.
And there's market for everything.
There is.
Yes.
And I think that's also that's a challenge too.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people making really great wine out there. It's just selling it is getting it out there is the challenge.
For me, as a customer perspective, what I appreciate the most is how loyal they are to the identity.
Yeah.
You remember that you said about coffee that there's this is how we're doing. If you don't like it, go.
So yeah.
Or you need clients, you need to. There's a lot of options. There's a lot of things.
Accessibility. Yeah.
Accessibility.
Yeah.
For me, it's like in a way, this is my philosophy. This is my identity into my wine, into my terroir. I'm not gonna change it because you want something different.
Yeah.
But I'm accepting and I'm inviting you to try it.
Yeah.
Access it, but no, I'm not gonna adapt because of you.
Yeah, it's also your brand,
Yes.
you know, and the brand is what people buy into at the end of the day. You know, it's like a wine tutor said, you know, after 50 or 60 euros, it's like art. You're not paying for it because of the quality, you're paying for it because of what other people say.
And you see the example of Corpinat. For me, that's
Yeah.
super interesting. And
Yeah.
probably that's gonna be the trend in 5 years, 10 years, that groups are gonna get together to protect their identity and to have new rules out of the DO,
Yes.
so they can adapt to like global warming, climate change, and they're gonna start doing their own rules to take the DO away and be together because of the region they're share.
Yeah.
And the problematic, because people from Bordeaux are facing the same problematic, and if the DO doesn't change, they will need to adapt.
Yeah.
No matter what.
Totally. Yeah, because it's, I guess, depending on what you're doing in the wine industry, the law, the denomination, the AOP, IGP is gonna either help you or hinder you.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, exactly.
With that appellation, you get recognition.
Mm-hmm.
You get a little safety blanket of, oh, thank goodness I've got this label to put on this. People recognize that. But then it's also, oh, but you can also only do this. You know?
Yeah.
A little bit of a catch-22.
Yeah, but that, I mean, again, Prosecco, Champagne, Cava, Corpinat, they will have different strategies, different markets.
Totally. Yeah.
Choose.
So choose whatever works for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Totally.
Patricio Martinez, I think we need to close this, but it's been an amazing podcast. I enjoyed so much.
Yeah.
I learned a lot. Great to share stories with you.
Thank you.
If you have anything to say to the public about the wine, about the coffee, about Australia, the mic is yours, Patrick.
Ooh. I'm guessing if people are listening to this or watching this, they're interested in wine or work in the industry.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you can, travel and see it in different places.
Nice.
If you're young enough that you can get that visa for wherever it is, New Zealand, Australia, America, go and see the wine in the place. A very smart wine person told me once that you really only understand the wine whenever you're standing in the domain, drinking it, seeing the vineyard, seeing the soil, feeling the weather, smelling the cellar. That's when you really get a wine, not in a tasting room. If you can get that experience, then you'll start to appreciate wine a lot more. So I'd say travel, see it, taste, and not just drink. Like,
Taste.
think about what you're actually tasting. Think
Be
about
present.
that. Be present, exactly. Because that's what wine is. It's about presence, and it's about appreciating your senses.
Yeah, it's gonna get you down to earth, no? A little bit.
Yeah, it should do. It should do. You know, we've all well, most people, we all have this opportunity to use these very specific, heavily evolved things in our face, which is our nose and our mouth, and they can, as a result of I don't know how many thousands of years of evolution, have adapted to detect all these different little things.
Wow.
And we're fortunate enough to have this product, which is grapes, gone off, big time,
Yes.
in a very particular way, to the point that you've got rules about what you can do with it, put into a bottle, and we're lucky enough to live at a time when we can use these things in our face
Yes.
to appreciate every little chemical in there.
Amen.
How lucky are we?
We're really lucky.
That's culture, right?
Yeah. So people, drink wine.
Drink wine, taste
Keep
wine.
us in business.
Yeah, please.
Thank you. Patrick, thank you so much.
Thank you. This is really good.
Thank you.